Good morning, everybody. This is Charles from Paladin. How are you? Listen, today we're going to do a webinar on the automated ordering and generating a best cost purchase order. So very good demo today. I'm going to get right into it here. First thing I want to do is show my screen. Just trying to figure out how to do that here. So you should be able to see my screen. All right. So welcome. This is quite a crowded webinar today. I really appreciate everybody coming and sitting in on this. Thank you so much. Brian, Dave, Michael, Tyler, several others, and there's still a few logging in as well. So you can see my title screen, and if you can see that, obviously you can hear me if you're going to respond. But if you can raise your hand, just let me know you can see my screen okay. It should say automate ordering and generate best cost POs with Order Analyst. Thank you so much. Joe, appreciate it. Dave, thank you. Okay. Well, let's just get started. Again, a quick introduction. I'm Charles Owen from Paladin, been here about 10 years, Chief Retention Officer today. And today's webinar, as I mentioned, is on best cost purchase orders. Well, there's a couple of things we're going to do today. It's not just about best costs. It's also about being able to split purchase orders. So what you're going to learn today is, I'm going to show you an overview of the Order Analyst feature, and then I'm going to go into a demo. So I'm going to throw up the screens on the PowerPoint presentation, kind of show you what we're going to cover, and then I'm going to actually go into Paladin and show you how to do it. I'm trying to get more active in actually showing the application as opposed to just doing a slideshow. I think everybody appreciates that, kind of walks through the process, and that way when you forget how to do something, you can go back and watch this webinar. By the way, you can always do that by going to our portal website for a list of those webinars, which is portal.paladinpos.com/webinars. All right, and that will be on the end of the screen as well. So I'm going to first show you how we split the purchase orders based on primary supplier. So you can generate orders and then split them up accordingly. And the same holds true with being able to split them up based on your best cost. And then I'll go into the demonstration. I'll show you how to, I'm going to create a purchase order for both primary supplier and non-EDI as well as EDI suppliers and show you how we split those purchase orders. All right. So purchase orders, Order Analyst Part 1. This is where we actually are able to take an order and split it up. So if you create a purchase order, that purchase order can be created by a suggested order. You can just walk your store and scan with the RF gun, or run a historical report. You can create POs in multiple fashions. If you do that and you do not specify a supplier, that is the key. When you generate, when you pull up that purchase order to review it, it's going to ask you a question. Do you want to split this purchase order based on primary supplier? And you can do that. So it just takes a working PO, we put it through Order Analyst, and out pops out the other end, which is a couple or more of suppliers, depending on how many suppliers you have for the items that you are purchasing. In this case, we have two. So the original purchase order is, as you'll see here on the screen, says split working purchase order. And then it created two additional purchase orders, which took those two and split them apart. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here on this screen. So the original purchase order, you can see the faint blue and green. Those are the different suppliers. What we did was we took that order based on the primary supplier, that in the primary supplier 1 position, we broke up the purchase order into two purchase orders. So this enables you to do a carte blanche ordering for your store. You can run a suggest order for your entire store. Let's say you have 10 suppliers that you order from. It will produce 10 purchase orders, one for each supplier. So a very powerful feature that very quickly and easily lets you split up your orders based on primary supplier. Now let's take that to the next level. Next level is with your EDI, electronic data interchange suppliers. These are those suppliers that you communicate with on a regular basis, where you're uploading the orders electronically and you're downloading the invoices electronically into Paladin. We are able now to pull in the costs, the recent costs. Now, they should be no more than a week old, but if you run your EDI every day, depending on how often your vendor updates the maintenance and pricing files, it can produce results that are going to be give you an opportunity to get the best price purchase orders. So this could potentially save you money. And I'm going to demonstrate this on the Paladin system. But what it's going to do is it's going to go through and let's see, you create an order for both your EDI suppliers. Don't specify one or the other, just both of them. Just create your PO through, again, suggested ordering, historical report, or walk around your store with the RF gun, either way. Once you pipe that through Order Analyst is going to now search for the lowest cost, the lowest market cost. What was the last time, what's the market cost for this item, and which one is it going to drive to create the order for? Now you can see does the same thing as a split PO for the suppliers, but in this case, as opposed to just looking at the supplier in the primary position, it's looking at the cost first and making that the priority. And it can split up your PO. Now, most of the time, you're going to have 2 at the most EDI suppliers, and so your Order Analyst would create two working POs. And you'll see that example in the demonstration on Paladin momentarily. Just a full disclosure, we've got this working today against the ACE, Oracle, and True Value systems, or EDI systems. Any others will be added upon request. We will go ahead and there's been a request for United, there's been a request for EJD, and we are working on those now. Shouldn't take us long to implement those, but as we get requests, and there are going to be probably dozens of them, we will go ahead and add those to the list of suppliers that we will feature. All right, so what is this? This shows the inventory receiving, and if you click on the supplier tab, it's now going to show 2 suppliers, and there are some additional fields here. Now, before in Paladin, as you know, we've had an average cost, a market cost, and a last cost for each SKU, right? Now, if you had multiple suppliers, it's still only an average cost, a market cost, and a last cost. Now, in the case of the Order Analyst, we track the market cost, order quantity, broken quantity, and we update per supplier. So now you're going to be able to see this. Now, you could see this before as well if you went into historical sales. You looked at your invoices or purchase orders from the past. You can see which suppliers charged what prices and what cost. But in this case, we're just going to throw it on the screen for you. So if you have EDI to 2 vendors, in this case, we've got EDI Supplier A, EDI Supplier B, and it shows that there's a market cost of $10.89 for one, $10.53 for the other. Both of them have broken cartons, which means they can order less than all the way down to a single. And that's what we've added. Now let's go ahead and get into this. So I'm going to take you through a Paladin demonstration right now. So I'm going to back out of this, bring up Paladin. So this is the Paladin system. Hopefully you can see this on your screen at this point. I'm looking at the audience view, and it looks like this is coming across good. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to first of all assume everybody knows how to use Paladin. And first thing I'm going to do is go into purchase orders. Again, I can access purchase orders by either hitting Alt-4 from the keyboard, pressing the mouse, or if you have a touchscreen monitor, just hit that button up above. Under PO, I can go in and hit Recall PO, and I can see I have no POs in my system. So I just wanted to show you that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple of different purchase orders. I'm going to create one for non-EDI suppliers and one for EDI suppliers. So I just go into Inventory, Purchase Order. I'm going to use Suggested Ordering because that's what we all should be using. It's going to give us the largest return on investment with Paladin because it's going to keep in balance all the outs and the overstock and, drive purchases of items that are selling and less purchases of items that aren't selling or turning. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'm going to select a supplier range. I'm going to go with range, I'm going to go with 1045 through the end. This is just a bunch of different suppliers. I'm going to run the inventory stocking days for 15 days. And let me just confirm that this is it. Yep, the 1049. So we want 1049 through, or 1049 through 95. We're going to go ahead and run this report. Well, first of all, let's create a working PO from this data. I'm going to call this non-EDI PO, just what I'm going to title it. And I'm going to run this. So when I hit run report, make sure I have everything good here. All right, so I've got everything good. I'm running the report. It's creating a working PO from this data. So as soon as this gets done, it's going to generate our suggested order report, which is really the catch-all report that is there for verification. You can take that report, print it if you like, walk and spot check a few items. I normally will generate the purchase orders sorting options. I'll normally go with extended cost and descending. So it floats all the heavy, high expensive stuff to the top of the PO, so I can make my biggest changes there. All right, so it's created the PO and it's created my suggested order report. This is the suggested order report. If I go to the very bottom, I'm interested in this number down here. It's $1,229 is my total order for all that group of suppliers. All right, I'm going to close this window and I'm going to go right from here and I'm going to create a second purchase order. This one is going to be for suppliers 13 through 25, which are both of my EDI suppliers. And then I'm going to generate this for 15 days, and the PO I'm going to do is EDI PO is the name I'm going to give it. And I'll hit run report on this one, and it's going to do a 15-day supply of the items that I need from both of these vendors. Now, I'm not specifying one in particular. I'm doing a range of 2 EDI suppliers. Now, again, you can create these POs anyway. You can use suggested order, you can scan your store, or you can run your historical sales report and generate a PO for a replenishment PO, if you will. This is gathering the data. It's going through my 44,000 items and all of my suppliers and creating a PO for my 2 EDI providers. All right, the report's done. In this particular one, I've got a lot more items on my suggested order report. The total is $17,469. So now I've created my 2 purchase orders. So let me go into POs and show you. I'm going to go back to recall POs, F6 down below, and show you I have 2 purchase orders. So I've run 2 suggested orders. One is for an EDI PO and one's for a non-EDI PO. So let's do the non-EDI PO. This is for suppliers that you just buy from, that you have no electronic data communications to. So we'll go ahead and recall this. Now, it's going to prompt me with a message. And this message says, do you want to split the current purchase order based on lowest supplier costs? Well, that would be true. It would be based on lower supplier cost if these were EDI suppliers. But in this case, these are just non-EDI suppliers that I have in the system. So I have them in multiple. I have multiple suppliers set up for each of the SKUs. I have a supplier 1 and a supplier 2, and it's going to direct it towards the supplier that is in supplier 1 position. All right, so if I say yes, I want to do this. So it's doing it. It said the PO has been split successfully into 8 individual POs. Now, if I notice down here, I've got my right down below at the bottom shows my non-EDI PO. And then I've got my split PO of C-Choice, Premium Pet, so on and so forth. These are all purchase orders for each individual supplier. If I pull one up and look at it, and I can, recall this inventory item, I can see in my order control screen, in this case, Baker Distributing is the only supplier. So it's pushing that towards that particular purchase order. Now, if I go ahead and hit cancel and recall up another one, I can call up, let me call up Diamond Vision. This one, there's quite a bit more. So it's recalling all of the items in my purchase order for Diamond Vision. Oh, there's only one. I expected there to be more. All right, so in that case, let's look at that one, recall inventory item. And I can see that also is in supplier position number 1. So what it's doing is it's creating a PO and it's pushing those purchase orders into the PO for that particular vendor who is in supplier position number 1. So that's the wow factor with this particular non-EDI provider. It will take all of those items and create a purchase order based on supplier 1 position. Now, some of these items have 2 suppliers, some might have 3, some might have 4, but what it's doing is creating the PO based on a default of who's in supplier number 1. So let's get to the other phase of this, which is supplier order for the EDI PO. Let's look at this. So I'm going to go ahead and recall the EDI PO. At this point, it says, do you want to split the current purchase order based on lowest supplier cost? Yes, that's the intent here. So we say yes, and now what it's doing is it's going through and it's looking at and comparing all the market prices and costs, and it's going to break this PO up into 2 individual POs, each of them showing the more favorable cost and directing it to that particular vendor. In this case, it says I've successfully split this into 2 purchase orders. I'm saving almost $1,000 on the order because I've favored the best cost. If I say OK, I can see down below I've got a split order. This is the original EDI PO, and then it's created one for Orgle supplier 1 and then ACME supplier 2. Or Acme. So if I call either of these up, it's going to bring up, there's probably going to be quite a few in these POs. Waiting for the screen to appear. And drum roll. So we have 533 items that were created. If I go to the top, I select one of my items here and I hit recall inventory item. And I look at this item. I go to order control and I click on, notice I have 2 vendors, obviously, Orgle and Acme, and it shows me the market cost for each. Market cost is $18.80 for Orgle and $17.96 for Acme Corporation. So obviously it's steering that particular one to Acme. And if I went through and looked at all these, the same would be true with each one of these. It would favor the lower priced item and force that to the supplier Acme. So if I go back and recall, I've got Orgle as well. I can bring up the Orgle order as well, and that will do the same thing. I think it also has roughly 500. Oh no, in this case, it's only got 158. Again, if I go to the top, I look at the charcoal here, and I recall inventory item, look at my order control, click on my suppliers, I can see that one is $10.72 for Orgle and is $12.50 for Acme Corporation. So that's it, really, guys. That is the presentation. That is my demonstration. And I want to share some few things with you. Before we sign off, you can always go to, as on the screen, portal.paladinpos.com/webinars to see this webinar. It will be posted. We have another webinar coming up on August 6th. Stay tuned, put on your calendar. This one is how to produce bin tag labels, item tag labels, and signs, how to do it in batch, how to do it in individual, and so on. Now, if there are any questions here, I can take those at this point, and we will give a second. If you have any questions, I'll go ahead and answer those questions. All you do is go to the text box down below on your go to webinar dialog box, So far, I see no questions. So obviously, I did a really good job of explaining this. So hopefully this was helpful today. I'll give it another 30 seconds or so, and before I move on. You can check out our new 2019 release, which is now out to about half of the country. And in the next week or two, it should be out to the remainder of the stores. Seems to be very stable. It's got a lot of neat features in it. If you go to the features functions, there's a tab at the top of Paladin, the help tab. You can go to the very first item there is features and fixes, I think, or something like that. If you click on that and type in and search for 2019, you'll find the release guide, which shows all the different features in the 2019 release. So there's a question here that says EDI PO by cost. What if you want to separate non-EDI PO by cost? It can't tell you what the non-EDI by cost is because you don't have the current cost. The cost cannot be entered manually. These have to come from EDI. The whole concept here is to maintain the most accurate and current cost. If you have a non-EDI supplier and you've had the item in your system for 3 years, and you've been adjusting, even if you've been adjusting the cost the last time you received it, it's not current. So it's not going to be as accurate. And if they were an EDI supplier and that information was automatically brought in, which it is, it can do this, but not for non-EDI. For non-EDI, all it will do is split it based on supplier. Now, if some of those suppliers, if the supplier happens to be one of your EDI vendors, then it will favor that EDI vendor, even if the cost is higher, is greater. And that's because that's the only cost it has to go from. It's not looking at the other non-EDI costs because those are irrelevant. So hopefully that answered the question. What if you want to separate non-EDI POs by cost? So non-EDI, not possible, just because the keeping up all those costs in the systems is just not something that you can necessarily tackle or manage manually. And when you've got an update where you've got a feed coming down daily or weekly of the cost of the items, that's going to be a better bet for you. Prices change all the time, especially now with all the tariffs and everything. But you can verify and check the costs for your suppliers when ordering, and that would be more of a manual, not an automated function. All right. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. It's been 23 minutes. Hopefully this was helpful to you. Again, next August 6th, we've got another webinar on labels, bin tags, and signs. And check out our 2019 release. Have a great day. Appreciate your time, and hope you learned something today. Take care, and until next time, we'll see you later.